unpopular opinion, if we paid therapists more, they would be exponentially better therapists. Now, yes, there is room for gray. There's painting with a broad brush here, absolutely. But whenever you look at the average income for a therapist, they are not making a livable wage. After going to grad school, after seeing upwards of 20, 30 clients a week. And what are we seeing in the mental health crisis right now is that therapists are coming into the field and then they are leaving by the droves. And when you ask them why they are leaving over and over and over again, they will tell you they are burned out, they are exhausted, they don't make enough money to sustain and provide for their families and for themselves long term. And while, yes, we came into this field, most of us, if not all of us, came into this field because we want to help people, that doesn't mean that we signed up to be in a culture that expects us to be martyrs. And quite frankly, this idea that you can't charge more until you have X number of years in the field, or you have a certain number of trainings, until you have met a certain quota, you cannot charge a certain amount. I believe that is firmly, that's abusive, right? So take that same idea and put it into family therapy. Until you have done X, Y, and Z, until you have earned it, you cannot ask to be loved in a certain way. Like as therapists, we would be like, get out of my office. That is so abusive. And yet this is the idea that a lot of people are passing down to therapists. Now, am I saying it's easy? Absolutely not. Am I saying that you should drive your rates up just because you can? Absolutely not. In fact, I believe if you do that, if you're putting that kind of energy out into the universe, your business is going to go under, and quite frankly, it should. But if you are being an intentional business owner, if you are investing in the skills that you need, not just in the clinical aspect of your work, but also in the business end, because if you are running a private practice, you are not only a therapist, you've now signed up to be a business owner. And if you are arrogant enough to think that you don't need to invest in those skills, I think that the business world is going to chew you up and spit you out because it doesn't care. And you absolutely need a different set of skills, or you need the money to go and hire someone who has those skills. But even then, in order to know that you've made a good hire and that they're doing their job, you need to have a general understanding of what you're looking for from them. So all of that to say, in this video, I'm going to be talking about not only why therapists should be raising their rates, things to consider, but also how to do that. Because here's the thing, a lot of therapists, where they run into issues as I'm talking with them, is they don't know how to actually move into this process. My name is Dr. Brittany McGeehan. I am a licensed psychologist and I am a business coach for therapists. I am passionate about helping therapists really reignite and bring creativity into their businesses, but also build it so that it is sustainable for the season of life that they are in, right? Not long-term, not forever, because your season of life is going to look different right now versus in 6 months versus in a year. We want to plan for long-term as best we can, but we want to make sure that it's serving you where you're at. So let's get into it. Other than just being able to do your job better, right, which is fantastic for everyone, we want clients to be receiving the best of their care. In fact, when I talk with my clients who come in, typically I am seeing clients who have seen upwards of 3, 4, 5 therapists before, and they are like, therapy is not working. What the heck? They're frustrated. And time again, what they are saying is that their therapist seems to forget things. Their therapist seems like they're having a hard time. What I'm hearing is that therapists are not taking care of themselves. And while we think that we are able to keep it on the back burner, we think that we are able to, I'm going to go in like a blank slate, although I think we're getting rid of that mentality. We think that we're able to hold these things back, but energetically, all of your shit is coming into the room with your clients. They feel it. It shows up in the parallel process, right? How far can they actually move forward if the person who's guiding them is sitting stagnant? So they are looking for someone who is actually taking better care of themselves. Meanwhile, the story that therapists have in the back of their head is that if I do that, I'm selfish. If I do that, I'm not a good therapist and I can't be available to everyone. But keep that in mind that actually, and we say the same thing to parents, right? The better you take care of yourself, the better you are able to care for other people, the stronger of an example you are able to set for them, the bigger impact you're going to have, right? Because then this person is going to go out and they are going to make a drop in the ocean, however you want to think about it, right? But they are going to have an impact on other people as well. So it's not just about you. Get out of your own way. It's also going to allow you to really bring your A game if you are charging a rate that makes you just a little bit uncomfortable, right? Maybe it's a rate that you've validated, you know you can charge it, you know your why behind it, you've done the body work, the energy work to really kind of ground into it, but still you are showing up and you're charging a rate that makes you just a little bit uncomfortable. I guarantee you are going to show up and bring your A game. Not only you, but your clients too, right? You're going to sit different in an office if you are charging, or if you're paying $200, $300, $400 for an hour of someone's time to feel better. You are going to be way more invested in this process. And you, as the therapist, you aren't just going to be flying by the seat of your pants. I guarantee you're going to create a system so that you can show up prepared for that session. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect by any means, because just because someone is paying a certain rate doesn't mean that you owe them something different, but naturally it brings a higher energy. You bring your best self into that room, because not only is there an edge to it, but also you're more motivated, you're getting more out of it, and you're probably working less hours. So you have more available and more motivation. Those things together are going to bode for success. And then thinking about that parallel process, right? We talk about that all the time with, I feel like therapists, as you're coming into the field, get to know the parallel process, understand it, and then they spit you out into the real world. You try to open a private practice, and all of a sudden you're expected to wear 50 hats. You're expected to work tons of hours if you want to make a decent income. It's just like, all right, have fun, and let's pretend like that doesn't impact our clients. But when you show up for yourself, when you set boundaries, when you have a reason as to why you're doing things in your business, if it's intentional, right? If it is there to protect your energy and to serve your clients, that parallel process is incredible, right? Because within that idea of we're sort of dancing in the same dance, when I am blossoming, when I am winning, when I am grounded, when I am successful, you are successful. You are automatically being pulled into that energetic dance, right? You're pulling your clients into that energetic dance that is setting them up for success. Versus if you're running yourself into the ground, chances are your client is potentially going to do the same thing as well. Not all the time, not every time, we all know that, but generally that is the energetic dance that you're going to dance in. After you've thought about your why, whatever it is, whatever of this resonates with you, whatever doesn't, I want you to think about what's actually holding you back. Because before we get into the formula, and I'm going to give that to you, right? I want you to take that away. I guarantee that's not what you need in order to actually raise your rate effectively, right? Clinicians know they need to be charging more. Every single client that I have talked with, like coaching client that I have worked with, every single therapist that I have had come into my business has said, I know that I need to be charging X, Y, and Z. I see that you are doing that. Please help me do that too. So here's the thing, like, it's not about a number. It's not about knowing that you need to do it. It's about getting really honest about why you're not doing it in the first place. Number one, by and far, what I see is that people are terrified of rejection. We are scared of rejection. And as business owners, this is going to be the number one thing that kicks you in the butt and keeps you exactly where you're at. And what's really, messed up in our field is that we are continually shamed for stepping out into something more authentic, whether that is you're offering services that other clinicians don't like, whether it is your rate. And I will tell you, as you raise your rate, you are going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. And not a lot of therapists, not a lot of business owners have done work on their relationship with money, which is boggling to me, right? Like, it absolutely blows my mind, because how in the world do you expect to go out, play with numbers, build a business, make money, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't care who you're helping, it's a business. And without revenue, without income, your business is going to go under. So you can sit here and spout that you want to help people all day long, but if you're not taking care of yourself, if you are not running this business and making revenue, then it's going to go under. You're not going to help anyone. But all of this fear mongering in our field, right? The ethics board is going to come after you. And the ethics board is very important. They're there for a reason, 100%. But oftentimes it's used as a fear tactic to not step out into something more authentic and to not step into something that is better for you. This fear of rejection, whether it is from peers or it's from clients, right? No one will want to work with me. Whatever it is, that fear is going to keep you stuck. And 10 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, whatever you want to say, that is what's keeping clinicians stuck. That's why you hire a coach. Yes, give me the roadmap, 100%. And I love that. Being able to say, right? Hey, here are the mistakes that I made in this process over the last 5-6 years of building my business. Don't make them. Don't make them. Let's invest in yourself right now and let's get you set up for success from the beginning or from where you're at, right? That to me is a really beautiful thing. But it's also about accountability, and it's about getting a different voice into your head. Exactly what we talk about with our clients. The voice in your head is beating you up, is being a dick. And so let's get you something different. Let's get you something healthier. Let us get something that's actually going to build you up. And the other half of that, and what I really, really work with my clients, is let's figure out where this voice is coming from, because it's not just going to be your peers and your clients. Y'all know if it is really keeping you stuck, then it is generational trauma. And so we don't need to sit and actively process through things in coaching, right? That's for therapy. But if you don't identify it, it's just going to keep biting you in the ass over and over and over again. And so being able to identify, okay, these fears are tapping into this childhood trigger, trauma, whatever for my inner child. And I need to be aware that I need to reparent this piece of myself. And it's not necessarily rooted in present tense. It is potentially present tense data, sprinkles of it here that are really tapping into this experience from the past. Don't bring that drama into your business. The other thing with this too, and then we're going to get into the formula, is that if you are coping, if you're moving through this fear of rejection, and then you're pulling a number out of thin air of yep, here's what I want to be charging, which oftentimes is a lot of what people do, right? A lot of times people will tell you, if you're going to increase your rate, you need to do it $5 at a time. You need to do it $10 at a time. And it's why? Why is that number any different than $30, $40, $50, $60, $70? Because it's bigger, because it's smaller, because it's more doable. Says who? Have you done the market research? Have you gone and validated your offer? Do you have data on what your clients are making? Generally, obviously don't get up into their business, right? But is this actually rooted in reality, or is this a story that you're telling yourself? Because the reality is that no one actually knows what someone else can pay. You're not God. You are not in someone else's head. And if you think that you are, you're in a trauma response. You're mind reading, right? It's a cognitive distortion. Now, I think that you should pay attention to the area that you're in. I think you should think about whether or not you have a history of financial data to support that you could charge a rate like this, but that's not everything, right? And that's data that is coming in and informing a decision. It's not sitting back and being well, I charge $75 right now, and I just know that no one would ever pay me $200, right? There's nothing to that. And so as you're moving into a place of discomfort, because it's going to be uncomfortable no matter what, it just is. There's no way around that. And I don't think there should be. As you expand, as you get larger, you take up more space in the world. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. That's part of what keeps life interesting. It is what teaches us about ourselves and allows us to evolve. You've not grounded that number in some sort of formula. If you don't know why exactly you are charging it, it's going to make it that much harder to actually raise that rate. So let's get into the actual formula itself. Here's what I want you to be thinking about whenever you are figuring out what you want your rate to be. First of all, you need to take into account expenses that you need to be charging, right? So I want you to think about, what salary do you want to be making? What would $200,000 look like for you in your life compared to what you're making right now? But I want that number to take into account all of your bills. And when I say that, I don't just mean your mortgage. If you are lucky enough to have a mortgage right now in this market, rent. I want it to take into account utilities. It should be taking into account your student debt. It should be taking that into account. Right? All of your bills, it should be taking into account daycare, sports, whatever things that your kids are doing. It should be taking into account your travel fund, right? Whatever it is that your lifestyle looks like. For me, it's Starbucks. Starbucks makes me happy. I don't care what people say. Also, sugar makes me happy. Your salary should be supporting all of that, and you're going to reverse engineer it. And the other thing is, I want it to take into account all of your utilities, your fees, all of the different bills that you have related to your business. And a lot of times this is where people fall short. They don't think about the fact that as a small business owner, you're also paying for a CPA, you're potentially paying for a VA, you are paying rent, you are paying for all of these little things that are in the office, right? Maybe you're offering water or candies or fidgets or whatever. Hopefully you're paying for something to clean your office, whether that is someone coming in or you are paying for those tools or whatever. Anyway, all of these things need to be taken into account account your CEUs. A lot of therapists complain that they are so expensive, and I totally hear it. I agree. But also, this should be factored into and already covered by your fee. Your client who's sitting across from you is paying for that. It should also be taken into account what you're paying to keep up with your licensure, whatever fee that is. All of these things, they add up and they bite you in the butt if you don't think about it from the get-go, if you don't think about it from your initial planning stage. And so you're going to have two different numbers here. You're going to have all of your bills, all of your like personal things, and then all of your business bills. All of these things you need to be sure that they are covered in that salary that you want to be making. It needs to not only be covered, but you also need to be thinking about how much do I want to be saving? How much do I want to be investing? Make sure there's room for all of that within whatever annual income you want to be making. Also within that, you want to be thinking about, okay, if I'm making 200K, what are my taxes going to look like? Because if you're making 200K, you're not actually making 200K, right? I know every business owner here hopefully knows that, and you've learned it either the easy way or the hard way, but you need to account for that as well. Typically, and I usually push therapists on this, you need to be charging, or you need to be looking to make at least 50K more than what you think you want to be making. Because if you want to be living off of 200K, you want to be charging more than that, maybe 250, whatever it is. I don't know what the tax numbers are without looking it up. So I pay someone to do that. Look it up yourself. But you want to make sure that all these things are taken into account. Okay. So then what I want you to do is I want you to sit and look at your usable hours for the week. And what I mean by that is, I'll give an example. So for myself, I have 2 young children. They're 2 under 2. We are busy. It is so much fun. But it is absolutely wild. Hence I'm recording at 4 a.m. And so my usable hours are a lot less than someone potentially who has older children or who doesn't have children, or is just in a different circumstance. For me, my usable hours is the time that my children are in daycare, and I don't want them in daycare all day because it's a long day for a little kid. So maybe my hours are 9 to 2 o'clock, because at 2 o'clock I need to get home and I need to prepare for the second shift. So, right, like every parent here knows what I mean. I am preparing for dinner. If it's not being made for us, I am picking the house up so that it's somewhat livable. And I'm thinking about, what do my kids need from me before I go and pick them up in an hour and a half. This also takes into account lunch and breaks. And I want you to plan those things out ahead of time. If you're not giving yourself a lunch because you need to be seeing so many clients throughout the week, you're not charging enough. That is unacceptable. It's going to run your business into the ground, because you're going to run yourself into the ground. And if you do not take time to take care of yourself, your body will take care of it for you. And you know that's true. You either take care of her, or she's going to knock you out and lay you down in bed. So figuring that out from the get-go, okay, I have 15 usable hours, whatever it is, that's going to tell you this is potentially how many clients I can see. Now, just because it's a usable hour doesn't mean that is how many clients you want or need to be seeing, because the other half of this is, again, you are a CEO. You are a business owner. And so you need to have time to work on your business, not just in your business. Client hours, that one-to-one exchange for your time, that is working in your business. That is something only you can do. As a business owner, you need to be dedicating, if not like a full day, then at least a few hours to working on your business. That doesn't include notes. So this is not a day to catch up on notes. That is considered working in your business. But working on your business is making sure that accounting is going the way that it needs to be going. It is working on your SEO. It is working on marketing, advertising, networking with other clinicians, figuring out your strategic vision for your business and how you want to get there. That needs to be given time. Otherwise, your business is not going to succeed. It's not going to move forward. So again, take that out of those 15 hours of usable hours, and now maybe you have 10. So now you know that you can take on 10 clients comfortably. That is your sweet spot, if you will. And now you can do the math. Right now you can actually sit and look and be like, okay, I need to make X amount of money in 10 hours. And so this is going to actually give you your rate. And it might be not as like clean cut as you want it to be. So maybe you want to round up or round down, whatever it is. But now you know exactly why you are charging what you're charging. And so whenever you go and you're having this conversation with your clients, you can be grounded. I don't recommend being like, here's why I'm charging what I'm charging, unless that shows up in the room and then you process that, right? Be curious why. You have something to stand on, and it's going to help. It's going to help the imposter syndrome. It is going to help the fear of rejection, because at the end of the day, raising your rate is not personal. Everyone makes it so personal. You're hurting my, I don't even know, like, I don't know where. Lots of stories come online, right? But taking better care of yourself is not about the other person. It's about you. And the reality is that if you are abandoning yourself in order to show up in relationship with someone else, even if you are being of service to them, you have already abandoned them. I'm going to say that again because I want you to write it down. I want you to take that to heart and really think about that. That applies to relationships in general. But if you have to abandon yourself in order to be in relationship with this other person, then you have already abandoned them. You've already left them out to dry. Versus if you can show up with love, with care, with compassion for yourself, you are bringing them into that space with you. Even if that means you have to refer out, even if that means your journey together, your time together is coming to a close, which again, you never know until you actually have this conversation with this person. And of course, you can still offer sliding scale. You can still move, like you're not confined to anything. But again, put it back into that original formula and think about it. If I'm offering 2 sliding scale spots, here's the range that I'm going to offer it at. Well, now I need to come up with this overall number with 8 spots instead of 10. And now that gives you your new rate. And again, you're still caring for yourself in that space, but you are doing so within a boundaried way that is going to allow you to sustainably continue to show up for your business. Again, I want you to think about, as you're moving through this process, I want you to think about that just because you got into this field, just because you got into any helping profession, you didn't sign up to be run into the ground. Just because you would like to help people, just because you're passionate about your work, doesn't mean that you cannot also want to make a good living. It doesn't mean that you are not worthy of care. Just because you want to help people and you want to be in this field does not mean that you are not worthy of care. You get to have both. That is like how I move through the world is, and you can ask for both things. You are worthy of both things. And quite frankly, this mental health crisis will not shift until we are taking better care of therapists, and therapists are showing up and taking better care for themselves, of themselves. It absolutely will not change. This is how you can better impact, make a bigger impact on the community that you are working with. Because whenever we step into a space of abundance where you're taking care of yourselves, well, now you have space to be creative. Now you have space to make content. Now you have space to show up in all of the unique ways that you want to be showing up. And maybe that's not with your job. Maybe that's with your family. Maybe that's in your community. Maybe that's with your friends. And that is still worthwhile and important. You don't have to constantly be putting yourself out there for other people to consume. You are worth taking up the space just by like the fact that you are here, right? That is a birthright. I don't care who you are, where you are entitled to take up space and to live this life and this journey exactly the way that you want to. If you liked this video, I encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, all the different things. I would love to hear your takeaway points. Drop them in the comments, help out your neighbor, let them know what you're walking away from or walking away with and what you are going to be working on. Yeah, I didn't get into this, but like if y'all want to hear a script of what it sounds like to actually have these conversations with your clients, let me know. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to make a video about that. I love this stuff. I think it is so much fun. And I think that there's so much room for growth in our field to handle these sticky situations in a more authentic and grounded way, and in a way that is going to serve both you and your client. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.